Emily Bronte was born fifth of six children on July 30th, 1818, in Haworth, England. It was a town of almost 5,000 inhabitants with a thriving textile industry. She lived in an isolated home at the edge of town. Her early childhood was shadowed by death, first of her mother in 1821 and then of her two older sisters. Her life surrounded her sisters, Charlotte and Anne, and books, not occupied by the political life that surrounded her. Together they wrote tales, fantasy poems, journals, and serial stories. After Charlotte discovered poetry in Emily's notebook, she agreed to a joint publication with her sister of poems. Finally, published just a year before her death from tuberculosis, she published what is known as her best and only novel, the tumultuous Wuthering Heights. In the wild and stormy countryside, the manor Thrushcross Grange sits isolated. A man lives there, Heathcliff, a man of wealth. Though the story follows the life of him from when he was adopted at 7 to his late 30s, it truly focuses on his intense love story with his adopted sister that he grew up with, Catherine. His life begins at a rocky start, being reduced to a servant and running away when the love of his life, Catherine, marries their neighbor. He then returns years later, rich, educated, and hot. He dedicates his life to revenge on the two families that he believed ruined his life, the Lintons and the Earnshaws. It would degrade me to marry Heathcliff now, so he shall never know how I love him, and that, not because he's handsome, Nellie, but because he's more myself than I am. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same, and Linton is as different as a moonbeam from lightning, as frost from fire. The first highlighted line shows what Catherine truly values. She values her social standing. Though she does not enjoy Linton's presence that much, she is willing to sacrifice her happiness for it and not let anyone know about this. She's keeping this a secret. Catherine does not elaborate on this line. She does not give examples of Heathcliff's past. It's something she intuitively feels. She feels so connected to Heathcliff that their souls are almost one. They are as one. I think that it is almost a sense of selfishness. Many times than not, it is that opposites attract. The wonder that brings us in. But for her, it's the likeness in their souls or personality that makes her believe this. Like she's in love with herself. She is self-indulgent and self-obsessive. Shall you and I be friends, Hareton? Was my next essay a conversation, an oath and a threat to set Throttler on me if I did not frame off, rewarded my perseverance. Hey, Throttler lad, whispered the little wretch, rousing a half-bred bulldog from its lair in a corner. Now wilt be hanging? He asked authoritatively. Isabella tries to make a friendly connection within the household, but she was greeted with rudeness and disparities, which is very uncommon during this time period, especially towards guests. The action Hareton pursues next is what I believe to be a product of his own environment. He was raised in a wild and violent household with no structure and no teacher. This dangerous environment raised him to be a dangerous child. Their curtains were still looped at one corner, and I resumed my station as spy, because, if Catherine had wished to return, I intended shattering their great glass panes to a million fragments, unless they let her out. Heathcliff calls himself a spy or almost a protector of Catherine, separated by a glass pane. This pane symbolizes a divide between them, not just of their physical being, but further enhancement of their opposing social classes. Heathcliff almost compares this window to a jail, that he would shatter it if she wanted out, something she needed escape from. He refuses to admit that there's a possibility that she wanted to be there, and it was not something she needed to escape from. Yay! Oh, okay. Excuse me. Okay. Go.
Tell me when.